Hello, 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 and welcome to episode 12. How is it already episode 12? Really
I
nice.
know it's crazy.
We have Norman Robinson with us today, and Norman is a very talented leadership coach and a professional counselor, therapist, and he has created a program that we are so excited to hear about today. One that is very near to both me and Lori, very near and dear to both me and Lori, in that we talk a lot about things that are furthering the new world here and things that are helping us adapt ourselves to participate and be a member, a dutiful member, a good member of the new world. And Norman has created a program just for men that will bring men into this equation with us. So without further ado, Norman, we would love to have you tell us more about it.
Well, thank you for having me. First of all, I'm excited to be here and with you and Lori. And this program is it's a work in progress. And constantly coming, being adapted and adjusted as I talk with men. I've been working with men primarily for most of my for like 50 years in both corporate and organizations, and then in the last 25 years as a therapist, counselor. I just found myself working in organizations and situations where there was a lot of men. And, I started as a therapist, back in 2003 as a therapist. And then I went and I worked in a private practice, and then I worked in a homeless program, a homeless shelter for a New York City contract shelter. And I worked with men in this shelter. And when I would sit down and meet with them, I'd ask a man, "Hey, so how's it going? How's it going?" And the answer was always, "What do you think the answer was?" I always get when I ask a man, "How you doing?" What do you think the answer is?
Fine.
I'm
I'm fine.
good.
Good. Yeah, I'm
I'm
good.
good.
I'm
Yeah.
good. I'm good. And so I was working in this shelter with about 70, 75 men. And every time I would meet with one, I'd ask, "Well, how are things going? How are you?" And it was like, "I'm good." And I'm like saying, "Holy shit." I realized, I said, we're not good. It's like I believed when I used to talk to men and just in passing and myself, the answer was always good. And there's this expression that says men wouldn't say shit if they had a mouthful of it. It's just the way we're socialized is to keep everything in and not reveal or show people any of our doubts or anxiety. We don't even show it to ourselves. See, that's the other thing. Is like we're not even aware of ourselves how worried or overwhelmed that we feel
Right.
in life. And we just block it out, push it aside, and just try to tackle the next thing that we can do. Something that we can do that makes us feel like we're controlling the situation. But as to what we really feel, most of us, myself included, are clueless. And it's only recently that, like within about 3 months ago, 2 or 3 months ago, I learned the word for myself, neglect. I felt neglected, and I never knew it because I never had a word for it. And after talking with people and reading and stuff like I said, that's what I'm feeling. I'm feeling neglected. You're angry, but what's underneath that? Oh, a feeling of being neglected. And that was a big breakthrough for me to realize that word to be able to label and identify my feelings. So this program that I'm creating and have created is about that. It's about helping men come into a space where it's safe to not have it all together. And these are usually the men I'm initially, targeting are men who are doing well, at least successful
Right.
in their lives and have accomplished things, but are feeling lonely, feeling sad, feeling disconnected. They're in this quiet disconnection. And they've done all the things that they thought they were supposed to do, but yet there's something missing. They're at a crossroads, and they don't know where to they don't know where to turn, where to go. And so I've put created a program. There's a 12-week version of it where we talk about different things, like starting with emotions, like just emotional labeling and coming up with vocabulary for feelings and emotions
Right.
and what they are. And then we go into like relationships. We start talking about relationships and how relationships work and what's the purpose of a relationship. Like what I notice with men is that if it makes sense, we're pretty good with it. We'll be okay with it if it just makes sense to us. And so we talk about relationships, and then we talk about embodiment. We talk about what it means to have to embody your life, to be an embodied person, like in body and these experiences in life being embodied and what that means and what that looks like. And we talk about our nervous systems and getting to a place of widening our window of tolerance in our nervous system so that the more we widen it, the more present we can be. Because when people get overwhelmed, as you know, we go into fight, flight, or freeze.
Right.
And so helping men to recognize and know those different nervous system states in their body and being aware of it so that, oh, I'm shutting down right now, I'm numbing. Or when I just sit and play games, I'm numbing myself, I'm medicating, I'm avoiding. So like just helping to connect certain behaviors and ways of being and responses to their nervous system and say, okay, let's learn how to be more present and sit with and be exposed and actually allow ourselves in a safe space to talk about what's triggering us and realize that it's normal. Like you're not doing anything wrong, but we can choose. Like we can make different choices and we can show up. And for a lot of men, those are some of the complaints that people have about us, is that we're not present,
Right.
we're disconnected, we don't want to talk about anything, or when triggered, that we get angry. We're angry. We're always angry or upset about something when people want to get close or get us to open up or show or be more present or show more feelings or emotions. That doesn't make sense to a lot of men.
Yeah.
They don't know what that means. So and then we talk about legacy, we talk about, fatherhood, being a husband, and, try to change for create something different as part of our legacy. And that's usually through our relationships, with the people that are closest to us. So that's kind of the thumbnail of the program.
I love
And
that, Norman. It kind of gave me chills here, especially the part about embodiment. For some reason,
mhm.
it's really ran right through me. So I'm so excited to see this and to see what comes of it. What is your intention behind creating this, Norman? What do you want to affect in the world?
Well, what I'd like to affect, my intention is to be inspirational. And I'm stealing that word from another man that I was working with. And I said, that's so powerful. What you're saying is like, I really, when men get together, when we're sharing, when we're talking, there's a lot of really good stuff happening, that's
Right.
powerful. Like when we're just able to just express thoughts and feelings and intentions and desires in our lives. So I said, I'm going to take that. It's to inspire people. Just one thing at a time. Nothing like, life shattering or life changing, but just each day, people need inspiration. We all need inspiration. So it's like if for that moment or that experience to inspire, to give someone some encouragement and inspire them to believe and to continue and to feel empowered that they can change, that you do matter, that you're not a failure, and that this is just part of the journey. And life, as they say, life be lifing. It's not personal. It's just the world that we live in. We were talking. I was having this conversation with this young man. He was 24 years old, and from a different culture, and very wise. His parents did a great job at just raising him and teaching him what priorities of life. And we said, well, there's so many bad things happening in the world. I said, but all those bad things are all those things that we see around us that are happening that are seem negative and bad and but I said it also creates a lane for us to step into to provide something good, or as he said, inspiration. There's a lane there for us. There's a perfect lane for us. And being able to see that, the inspiration to see that, yes, one person, all it takes is one person, as you know, Tammy and Lori, that all it takes is one person. And it doesn't have to be like, you don't have to be famous. You don't have to be a celebrity. You just have to show up and just see the lane that's in front of you and just put something in it that's positive and
Yes.
inspirational for other people. That's a pretty good day. That's a pretty good thing that we've accomplished. And that really restores a sense of a purpose, of identity, of meaning in our lives. And I think the more we do that, the more we exercise that muscle as men, I think the better we get at it, and the more we impact those around us, both families, communities, and other men that can follow that and see the impact, because there's clearly what's wrong in the world, but we need to see the opportunities and the path that's right there that says, put something in there positive, put something in there authentic, put something in there that's meaningful, that says something that people can respond to and have a response to something you generated.
Absolutely.
Nor I was going to say, Norman, I love the program that you've put together for our men. I mean, our men, I just think, Tammy and I talk a lot about programming, and, we can speak definitely from a woman's perspective. But from what I see from our men, they are very closed. They've been taught basically from birth to not be vulnerable, to not allow their emotion, a way to release their emotions, and also, being fully present. I love you talking about showing men a way to be present in the moment so they can just deal with what's right in front of them and react accordingly.
Yeah.
Pause and then choose, okay, what am I going to put in the world? Because ultimately, each of us are responsible for ourselves.
Mhm.
And by putting that positivity out in the world, I mean, we know it just ripples out. And it's so beautiful that you're showing them another way and bringing a group of men together to show them they're not alone. You're
Mhm.
not the only one who feels this way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. And that had to start with myself. I've had to be the first client, you know,
Yes.
in learning how to just be present. And and Tammy and you both having gone through, the leadership program, like that was a real challenge, was to stay present for me, to stay connected. My mind wanted to go and do something else. There was always something else running through my head as opposed to what was happening in that moment, and I think that's what anxiety, that's what stress, that's what uncertainty does. And I think for men, um, being uncertain and not sure of ourselves is very overwhelming. It can be very overwhelming. And just being able to like sit with the uncertainty and just kind of have the confidence that something's going to come. You'll know what to say and what to do. But for the moment, if you don't have anything, just be present. Just be in the moment. You don't have to know everything or have it all figured out. You can just be there. You can just be with that and be with someone and just connect and be in that moment and and that's good enough. That's sometimes that's all that's needed, is to be present with somebody. So I had someone ask me recently, like there was a situation where the man has a friend and she's married to a guy who he thinks is like very treats her badly, thinks he's like misogynistic and just takes her for granted. And he says, "This is a smart woman. This is a very intelligent woman." And he goes, "I don't know what to say to her." And what should I say? And I said, "Well, maybe," I said, "nothing is, you know, don't say anything. Just like you have to do something." I said, "Just be present for her. She seems to be talking and sharing things and let her figure it out. Just ask her questions that help her identify or locate where she is. But you don't have to do anything as far as because that could be dangerous for her. Telling her what to do was one, it could be kind of re-traumatizing for, if she's having a problem, a conflict with a man who's domineering and very aggressive with her and controlling. The last thing we need to be is another controlling person, another controlling man. We need to show her something different just through our way of being and allowing her to speak, allowing her to talk, allowing her to share what she's feeling without having to fix it, without feeling like I have to do something. So, that was that's different, for us. That's different for most of us. That's not what we're used to doing. We're used to giving our thoughts, our opinion. I'll tell you, ask a man how he feels and he'll tell you what he's thinking. It's like that's just how we're programmed.
Yes. Yes. I mean, you really hit on something about the fixer piece because I know
Hmm.
my experience, even with my husband, I'll be sitting having a conversation with him, just opening up to him about something, and immediately he wants to fix it. And I'm like,
Hmm.
honey, there's not anything for you to fix. I know you want to take care of me. I know that's, you know, kind of what it is you want to do because you just want to be that protector and you want to take care of me. I said, but I don't need that from you in this moment. I just need you to sit and listen and just allow me to speak and just be present with me and for me to know that you love me enough to just sit and listen. And just hold a little space. That's all I need right now. There may come a time I need you to fix something, and I will let you know.
Hmm.
I said, but right now, I just need you to listen. And I found myself when, in the past, when I would try to have those conversations with him, and he would immediately try to just fix things and try to give me advice. And I just started pulling back and I just stopped talking.
Hmm. Yeah.
And that's kind of the space, kind of where we ended up until finally we sat down and I, started talking. And I'm like, look, I really just need you to be here and be present and just listen to me. I don't need you to fix anything. I'm sharing myself with you. I'm being vulnerable. And I want us to be open. I want us to be best friends. That's what I want. And you fixing something for me is not allowing the space for that.
And
But
how
again, that goes back to the programming. I mean, that's just their immediate response. We're fixers. We're fixers. We want to just fix whatever's happening here and then move on to the next thing. And it's like, yeah, it didn't quite work that way.
yes, if it was that easy, it would have already happened.
Right.
It's like if that's all it took was just, oh, thanks for telling me that. I guess I wasn't smart enough to figure that out all by myself. Thank you. It's like, no, it's like it's more complex than that. And I think that's what men struggle with is the complexity and the nuances of how people feel. Because we're not in touch with our own feelings. We're not familiar or know our own inner experience and our own inner reality. So I think that's why we just project that on our other relationships is like, okay, so the only thing I have to give is I'll tell you how to fix it. That's my value and my worth. And I think that's where men really find themselves in such a kind of frustration and emptiness and a void is that feeling their only skill and their only talent is the thing that people are saying, we don't want that.
Right.
I don't want that. That's not what I'm asking for. It's like, well, I don't know what else to bring. I don't have anything else to bring to this. Like, what do you want? Like, tell me what you want. How many times have you heard a man say, just tell me what you want?
Yes.
What
Yes.
what do you want me to do?
It's like, just be here, be my
Yeah.
partner, just for me to know that you're here with me and that I can depend on you no matter what we face, no
Right.
matter what's in front of you. I know we're going to walk side by side together.
hmm And and this is like kind of peeling it back a layer, but I think for many men, I think women who raised us, did such a great job of just doing so much and providing so much and never needing anything or never asking for anything. It was like, so I think we're not familiar with, we never saw our parents, many of us didn't see our parents, do model that, that kind of relationship. And again, maybe it's a generalization, but so many women do so much and never ask for or never express how they're feeling about, they just do it. They just do what has to be done. And so we, as men, as boys, disconnected from our own feelings, and then seeing our parents not be show us how to deal with and how do you work through uh, tough situations? How do you work through times when you're upset? Like it's okay, but parents don't want to show their kids that. They think that they're protecting them from seeing that. They should not see that. But the only problem is that where else are we going to learn that?
Right. Exactly. One of the things you said, Norman, that struck me was that you're offering a different path than what the world is presenting out there. And Lori and I talk about that a lot in here, in that it feels like we're in two different timelines, literally, right now. Like the reality that I have is different than the reality of, say, one of my family members or something. And um, we've talked about that. It feels like you get presented with a choice. You can choose to move along the path of expanding your conscious, learning new things, figuring out what's going on with you, and letting go of the things that aren't working for you. Or you can kind of stay tied into the matrix and, just doing what you've always done because you've always done it, whether it's working for you or not. And I feel like not only men, women do this too, but we sometimes don't realize we have a choice. And I love the fact that you are presenting that in your program and your offering to men specifically. Because again, what you said, I think that a lot of men get locked into, well, this is what I was taught to do, and this is the way I'm going to do it, and I don't know any different. What do you want?
hmm
And to be presented with an option, I think is just very healing and very much along the lines of creating a legacy, for your timeline. So thank you for doing that.
Oh, I'm enjoying it. I'm having so much fun. It's so freeing for me to be able to see that there are so many choices. You're not limited. It's like I was having a conversation with a couple recently, and the couple they were having they've been together for like over 25 years, and so there was a lot of like assumptions and projections being made. I mean, they have a very good relationship, but they get stuck in these like minor, like seemingly minor, but to them they're not minor. They're big things. It's like, you never say this to me. You never say, when you're saying I'm going to do this. the wife is like, it's we, not I. There's no I in this situation. And he's like, you know what I mean? Like what, like you just want to control me. It's like it always has to be done your way. And that was the argument. And it turned out to be an argument. They said, okay, let's talk to Norman about it. Let's talk about it and see what he thinks. And it was fun. So they were like replaying the argument. And the argument had something to do with a medical situation that happens every month. She has a diagnosis, and every month she has to go for treatment. And so those 2 days, she says, are really hard days for me. I come home from the treatment and I'm just really wiped out. And he had asked someone to come over to the house to do something to help him fix something. And she was like, you never told me. He says, why do I have to tell you that? That I'm having someone come over. Why do I have to explain that? Why do I have to, you just want to control this, and so they were having that fight about control, a power struggle. And so I listened to him for a while and I'm like saying, okay, I don't know what am I going to say to them about this? And then finally I said to him, I said, well, what's really occurring to me, what I'm realizing is that I'm realizing that I said, marriage or a relationship is really about like you get to have a person in your life that you get to ask for anything you want. And the answer is usually yes, unless we have to talk about it more. But the intention is the reason you get this person for you've been together for 25 plus years. You get this person. Nobody else in the world would do that for you. And that's the purpose or the intention in my mind of marriage is that you find somebody that you get to be honest with, you get to be open, transparent, vulnerable, and you get to ask for things that you need and want from that person. And they get to say yes, unless it's something that you need to talk more about to get there. And so I said to him, I said, I said, every month, these 2 days are coming. I said, you both know it's going to happen. So I said to her, you get to ask him right up front. Don't wait for it when you come home and see what's happening. You get to ask before, like the week before or the week of, and say, hey, listen, these 2 days, I don't want anything happening. I just want peace, quiet, and whatever. And I said, and I said, that's reasonable for I said to him, that's reasonable for you. The answer is, what would you say if she asked you for that? He said, I'd say yes. I said, that's my point. Just ask.
Right.
Just ask. And I said, otherwise, what's the point in being married? I said that it makes no sense if every time someone says, "Hey, can you do this for me? Can you pick up the socks or whatever?" And the answer is a white, to fight about it. What's the point of being married
Right.
if you're always going to fight about little shit?
Yeah,
I said
exactly.
that makes no sense. If you want to do whatever you want to do, then don't be married. Just don't be married. If it's too much trouble to do something that someone else asks you to do. And the man goes to me, I never thought of it like that before.
Beautiful.
So to say, it just has to make sense. We just have to for men, it has to make sense. It's too complicated to try to process. Well, this feels like you're trying to do this. No, I said, no, she's just asking for when she comes home from her treatment,
To
she
rest.
just to rest. I
Yes.
said, and I said, and one of the things that kind of helped me understand this in my mind was when I heard a husband and wife on a podcast talking, and the husband says, I'm just realizing how much it takes from a woman to go through a monthly cycle. And he said to her, how many days a week, I mean, how many days in a month do you feel like yourself out of a month based on your cycle? She says 10. 10 days I feel like myself. The other 20 days I'm either going into it, in it, coming out of it. He says, that blew me away. He goes, men don't understand that because no one talks about it.
Right.
No one says that, hey,
Yeah.
We just assume, or just because women don't share that with, they just suffer. They just go through it. And we don't know because no one told us that
Hey,
it's literally 10 days of the month where you actually feel like yourself.
yeah,
So that stuck with me, and that's when I thought of that, I said, okay. I said, dude, she's 2 days. It's like, is that really too much? Doesn't she deserve to just get that without a fight? I said, but you got to ask for it. You can't assume or
right.
expect him when you come home, because he's already made up his mind. He's already got things that he's his decisions he's made. Tell him. Just tell him. Just ask him. This is what I need from you. I need 2 days. And I said, and for him, I said, and guess what? It works both ways. It's a two-way street. You get to ask for things you want too. That's the
Absolutely.
power. That's the beauty of being married or in a committed relationship.
Or in any relationship. I mean, that advice is gold for any
Mhm.
relationship. If we all just ask for what we needed and allow
Yes.
the other person to respond instead of making up stories in our heads, I mean, how much easier would all of our lives be? I had,
Right.
And assuming the other person knows what we're thinking, because oh my
yes,
God, we all have our own operating system. We're all programmed. We're all coming from a different place of how we process things that come in. I mean, my husband and I will have a conversation or something will be said, and I'll look at him like, what? What do you mean by that? And I'm kind of feeling not great about what he says. And then I'm like, would you explain that a little more? That's something new for us since going through the leadership program, that I will ask him and he'll ask me. It's like, what were you thinking with that? And it's something totally different, his intention, than what I'm thinking. And I'm like, oh, well, I like where we ended up right here because I asked the question. I used to not ask the questions,
Hmm.
and now I do. And it makes all the difference because I mean, he's been programmed since birth. I've been programmed since birth. I grew up in a chaotic alcoholic home. He grew up in a really great upbringing home with his mother and father. And so it's very different for us. So I get a little triggered by things that, and his intention is pure. He doesn't mean anything bad by it. It's just the way I filtered it and it came in. So
Hmm.
I am now stopping and asking the question, and is making all the difference for us.
That's great. It's kind of like what I'm sure you learned the same thing, but Tammy and I, when we were doing our coaching the last 4 months, we heard this term or this phrase all the time. It gets to be easy. And I tell people that's like I share that now. I said, listen, it gets to be easy. We don't have to make this so hard. It gets to be easy. Make it easy. And so like for men, I'm leading or sharing with men about leadership. That's another part of this is about leadership. Of course, after going through our leadership program, I definitely need to express or cover and talk to men about what leadership looks like. And, leadership is not just, being in a high level, job or position or formal, leadership role. We're all leaders. We're leading, starting with ourselves. We have to start with our own self-leadership. But I say to men, like, our jobs now as leaders in our families is not to be the ones to tell people what to do. Like it's not that kind of leadership. It's not I'll fix and I'll make decisions, or I'll jump into that seat of leadership because that's what leaders are supposed to do. And I said leaders now in families and in relationships are really about leadership is like leading people to a place of feeling safe and secure. I said, that's what leadership is now. It's like looking at the situation in your family and your home and saying, I get to lead them in a way that they feel safe, they feel seen, they feel secure. That's what we get to do. Because our wives are out there doing the same thing that we're doing, oftentimes, and doing it at a higher level, making more money, they so they don't need a someone like telling them, okay, my job is I'm out in the world all the time and I'm bringing all this knowledge and information from out there. They're out there and they are doing and leading and successful in their own right. So that's not the kind of leadership that is needed in a home or a family now. That's not the dynamic. The dynamic is that our job as a man is to provide not just to protection, like which we always saw our job was to physically protect our family, but it's to emotionally protect them, to help them to feel that it's safe in this home. So if mom comes home and she's stressed and whatever, how can I provide that level of I guess support and a presence that brings calmness to the whole family. Like that's what I see of the power of what men, our way of leading. It's now the world that we live in now. It's different. It's different, and that's a very powerful way of leading people is to help them to everyone to feel safe, secure, seen, and to kind of put a kind of reduce the frustration in the house. Now, a man has to be grounded himself in order to be able to do that, and he has to uh, make a choice and see that as that's a way of being for you as a husband, as a father in a family, is to be that type of leader in that home, in that environment.
So powerful.
Yeah,
Go
yeah.
ahead,
Go
Lori.
ahead, Tammy. No, you
I
go
was
ahead.
just commenting that just that it's so powerful. Like I just felt that all the way through my heart.
I know it's so beautiful. And, I'm sitting here thinking about, how men are perceived, how they're portrayed in like movies and propaganda and what have you. And what I see is men are being made to look stupid and to be small and irresponsible and just not able to make decisions. So it's kind of like that programming is being pushed down out of like Hollywood and other places.
Hmm.
And it's not true. I mean, none
Hmm.
of that is true, but that is still seeping into everyone's subconscious.
Mm.
And so I love that you are providing a platform to allow men to stop and to look at themselves and realize they have another choice. They don't have to accept that as reality. And, we talk about it, Tammy. We've talked about that before. And they do that for women too, that they're whatever and super hyper independent and don't need anybody, don't need any, a man or a woman, however their, relationship is. When in fact, we do need each other. I
Yeah.
mean, there's a purpose for all of us to be together regardless if you're married to a man or a woman. It doesn't matter however that looks. It doesn't matter. There's still the partnership there. We all still have our own programming and filtering systems that we work. So we still have the same issues in all of our relationships.
Hmm.
And so it's just beautiful because I feel like our men have been so attacked in so many different ways. And especially our young men, they don't even know how to approach women to ask for dates. I mean, it's tough. It's kind of tough out there. And so people are finding themselves really isolated
Yeah.
and, fearful of the world. And the world is, when you get out into it, it's really not as scary as how it's portrayed. Because what I see reflecting back to me today is just beauty and kindness. And then there are people, I see that they're having a bad day or they're struggling, or you can just feel, that they're angry and they don't understand what's underneath there of why they're feeling that way. But in order to get underneath there and understand it, I mean, they're going to have to pause and get really present and sit with themselves and look at it. And so your program is allowing a space for people to do that. or at least start down the path to understand how to do that.
Yeah.
So thank you for what you're doing. There's so many programs, so many different healing modalities out there, but your program is one of them. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Well, as Tammy knows this about me, is that what has been where that has been created in birth is something that I have felt, but it was in our leadership program with the strong women's energy and feminine leadership that really landed it for me. Like this is like, wow, this is a really great dynamic, men and women, like it really is powerful. It's like because we are different, because we do bring something different and unique to the world, to life. So yeah, a partnership, male female partnerships, just really make a lot of sense, just from a practical standpoint, because we do have different strengths and parts that we both that are important, that we both, like a woman's ability to reflect on things, to think more deeply about things, and a man's power, strength in action and making decisions, or the natural gifts, but with the other part of the reflection and thought, deeper thought about it before you act on it. Like being able to have, like, there is a time to act, but there's also time to think about and study and reflect before you act and do something later that you regret. And that's one of the things that's for us in our as men, is learning the discipline of not reacting or when we're triggered, and not just, venting and blowing up, or just releasing what we're feeling because we haven't had a space where we could even explore and be heard or felt safe to talk about or identify what we're feeling. So all that stuff is just pent up and just sitting there and just waiting for that, event or situation that will trigger. And then it's like, wow, what's wrong with him? Like what was that all about? And it
And
was
what's
just,
and what's a healthy way to release, a
yeah.
healthy way for men to be able to release all of that pent up emotion that they've never been shown or
Hmm.
taught that it's okay to do that. And then
Right.
how to do it. I don't
Yeah.
know.
That is so true. It's not familiar. It's not a known something, a skill, or something that was taught or modeled. They didn't see it.
Right.
They didn't see it. So, but what I'm encouraged, because I'm seeing, like, the men that, the younger men is another phase that we have to address, because there's a real crisis there with younger men,
I
really
agree.
very
I
serious
agree.
crisis with them. And they're the ones that are most likely to, like, be isolated and have under, like, as far as financially, working at some job that does not provide them income to support themselves, much less someone else. And they're also not having any relationships with women or men or whoever whatever their preference is, but they're not in relationships.
Right.
And they're the ones that are the most vulnerable to these conspiracy theories and these different cults and, extreme ideologies. They're the ones that are homegrown terrorists. I mean, they're the ones that are sitting online and consuming all this stuff, this poison,
Yeah. I
because
want
they're
to,
so angry.
exactly. I want to touch on something you said too, Norman, and you said it too, Lori, about the way that women respond. I think we are in a time period right now where women are really discovering that they have a voice. They're discovering that they do have power. And that's a good thing. I mean, that's needed. Clearly, it's been in the works for the last 250 years or more, right?
Hmm.
Probably longer than that globally.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I am in a same-sex marriage. And so there are a lot of people in my life who might think, well, she doesn't need a man. She says she doesn't want a man. She must hate men. I don't hate men. It's quite the opposite. I have men in my life who are very, very important to me and who impact my life in ways that they don't even realize. And it's very important for the men in my life to have the mindset that you are teaching, Norman, because I need that support as a woman, as an equal, as a human being, as another person who is a leader on this earth. I need that divine masculine to join the divine feminine in me. And it doesn't matter if I'm married to a man or not. I don't have to be in an intimate relationship with a man or married to a man or dating a man. Um, but I just wanted to highlight that men in our lives are so important, regardless of what the relationship is. It's necessary and it's important. And when it's absent, there is a huge loss that's felt. So we as women also have a responsibility and an obligation, if you will, to hold these men higher and to do it from a place of love and not frustration or disappointment, but to call them forward into
Mm.
being their highest selves and and to be the proper receptacle to receive that. You know, I can understand wholeheartedly how it's hard for a man to feel safe, when he's trying to express emotion or trying to do something that's different than he's always done. So I think that we do have a responsibility to hold the container safe as well.
Hmm.
The same thing that we want is the same thing that we get to give.
Mm.
Right.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. So many, men and certainly me as well personally, have felt like we've been um, like we're insignificant, we're not valued. And I don't mean like from a, grandiose narcissistic way. It's just that we just don't feel appreciated, that by so many women that look at or look at us and look at us with like almost like disdain or giving up on us, just like, they're just not worth the effort or the patience. Like they just don't have the patience. Like I see a lot of like couples and the way one of the things, and this was before I was more the way I am now is I'm much more um I'm more comfortable and much more assertive in couple sessions. I because I used to always worry about not wanting to seem like I was taking a side, But now there's a therapist, a really good couples therapist. His name is Terry Real, and his a way of therapy with couples is to take sides. He takes sides. And I mean he will tell one or the other. That's, like he says that men and women are both terrible at relationships. We're just terrible at it in different ways.
For ways.
But the assumption is that women think that they know more about relationships and emotions, and men are idiots, that we just don't know anything. And he says we're both terrible, just in different ways. So, I one of the things that sometimes I'm sitting here, I would used to hear the wife, the way she talked to the man. I said, "Wow." I said, if I ever said that to him, we'd be fighting right now. There'd be like a physical fight if I ever said that to another man. And that's what men really get is that respect thing, is that I would never disrespect another man. I would never say or unless if I did, then I know what's coming next. I
Right.
know what's coming next. There's a fight. We're gonna have a fight. And but yet some women can say some of the most disrespectful things and demeaning things to a man, like you're like you're talking to a child. I mean, and a lot of women have kind of done that with men, is like talking to them like they're a child, and that they
Which is
yeah, which is very which is very negative and a very damaging to that man. Or there's another thing that is like, okay, so when you're upset with a man, you withhold sex. You're teaching that man that it's a transaction now,
Right.
that it's not sacred. It's transaction. It's a transaction. It's a commodity. You're trading that for something you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was guilty of that in my first marriage. I was married to a man for 14 years and just, young and full of myself. I was successful in my own right and um, thought that I knew better. And there were many, many times that I emasculated him as a result of that. And it wasn't intentional. I didn't set out to do that. It was just my personality at the time. And as Lori said, all the filters that it came
Hmm.
through at the time. And I made an amends to him actually in my book that I published in 2021 and was able to recognize that. And right after that, we had an interesting experience. Our daughter went to college and um, me and my wife dropped her off at college, and her brother and sister showed up, and my ex-husband and his wife showed up. And it was one of the most touching experiences of my life for our daughter to have her whole family there and loving her and holding her without, any negativity or hostility or resentment or anything like that. And that's something that I didn't get to experience. My parents also divorced, and it was a horrible, horrible divorce. And honestly, it never ended. They never spoke to each other again. Um, and just to see the way that we broke that cycle,
Hmm.
and were able to give something beautiful to our daughter was extremely moving for me.
Hmm.
And I'll tell everybody today, he's one of the best friends I've ever had. We were so much better friends than we ever were spouses, and I'm grateful for that. It wasn't perfect. He wasn't perfect. I wasn't perfect. The relationship wasn't perfect, and the friendship is not necessarily perfect, but it's there, and there's a level of respect there that I'm very grateful for today.
Yeah. 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 That makes sense. That's so, what you said is like the relationship wasn't perfect. Friendship isn't perfect. No two human beings or any one person is perfect. So because we're different and I don't know what you know, I don't feel what you feel and think what you think. So we're constantly in a state of connection, disconnection, and then repair.
Absolutely.
And that's it. So if we know that or when we learn that and understand that, it's like there's no need to fight. You just bypass the fight and you go to the repair. Like, okay, what do we do now? How do we get to repair this as opposed to having the fight, like that couple that was fighting over, you know, the you're not sensitive and the other one is you're controlling.
Yeah.
And I'm saying like, well, let's just go to the repair. The repair is that you guys know this every month. This happens every single month. Just carve that time out where those 2 days, nothing happens in that unless she says, I'm okay, I'm good with this. If it needs to happen, at least talk to her and she'll understand. It wasn't like, but she was just trying to get that consideration of, hey, I'm going through something right now and being sick is not fun, and nobody, unless until you've been there and until you've had an illness or whatever, you can't appreciate how illness affects a person in every sense of the word, their emotions, their thoughts, their identity, how they see themselves, their beliefs and what's possible for themselves, the grief that's involved, the grieving that goes through with that. It's intense. It's intense.
And even their just energetic state,
Yeah.
the energy, they're a bit more vulnerable with their
Hmm.
energetic state. And so somebody they don't know coming into their space,
Hmm.
I mean, that can feel really heavy and daunting and it's just not a good thing to do. So
Right.
yes, I think that was really, a good strategy for them. Just something small going forward.
Right.
I know for me, with my husband works a lot and he's an IT manager and he's so good at what he does and he's really good at digging down in those details, but there's not a whole lot left in the tank when he's doing that work. And so I've had to kind of, instead of being, I told you that last week and now it's here and you don't remember, I found myself today just reminding him a little bit more about things coming along the
Hmm.
way so he's not blindsided by something. That's something easy that I've been able to do. And
Yeah.
it's actually made a pretty big difference for us. And he's like,
Hmm.
oh yeah, you told me that. I'm like, okay, he remembers because
Hmm.
again, he's just got so much going on that it's just sometimes hard for him to remember some of those little things. And as a wife, I can help him with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, we don't keep a good calendar, so I am his calendar about some of that stuff. But then also, I used to do, most of the driving. I mean, we drive very different. And so I started doing a lot of the driving because he would be working on his phone or what have you. And then all of a sudden, I found myself resenting it. Well, I created that. I'm the one who stepped up and started doing all the driving. So guess
Hmm.
what? It was up to me to say, honey, would you mind doing driving today? And now he's starting to do more of it. So it feels more like a partnership. I know that
Hmm.
doesn't sound like a big deal, but it's just the little things. We can compromise. Yeah.
Well, Lori, I think that is a big deal because it is the little things. Where most relationships, I mean, isn't what most of the difficult things that the things that we just get stuck on are usually the little things. It's
Yeah,
something
they are.
little, we get stuck there. And we're arguing about it on this like logical or this conscious level, but it's really coming from someplace that's much deeper, right? And we're just going past each other and not really realizing there's a, let's what's going on, like tell me what you're feeling, or tell me where this is coming from, like that reflection, like where is this coming from, what's familiar about this, what's the meaning that you're making about the situation or about yourself? What's the story? And how can and then the repair. What I need from you or what would help me. And the thing that Terry Real does that I really love is that he says that when couples make these requests of each other, you don't objectify it by saying you are always on your phone and you don't listen, you're never helping me out. It's like, honey, I know that you love me. It's a man or woman. I know you love me. And there's no question about that. And it's probably just me. This is me, but this is how I'm feeling. So it's not like I'm attacking you. I'm telling you that it's not you, it's me.
Mhm.
It's me.
Yeah. I mean, it always is, isn't it?
All right. Yeah,
Every
exactly.
issue that
Ultimately,
we
it is.
have with someone else
Yeah,
out there is inside of us. It's the
right,
thing that we recognize and cause and create in other people that aggravates us that's inside of us.
right, right.
That's the hardest part. That's for me, that's the
Yeah,
hardest loop to make
yes. Remember Captain Angelica, if you spot it, you got it, It's like
every single
that-
time.
yeah. It's probably because you got it.
So,
Or wish you had it. You don't say like either you
right,
got it or you wish you had it. They're so nonchalant. They don't have a care in the world. I wish I had that.
right.
Meanwhile, I'm over here stressing everything about everything, and nothing seems to bother them. So yeah, it's either I got it or I wish I had it.
Yeah. Like I literally just walked down the steps before we started the podcast and said to myself, why is it so hard? And then I remembered I said that exact thing in our video we made, Norman, for,
Hmm.
for the class.
Yes. Yeah.
Why is it so hard?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, why is it so hard? 23 steps? Why is it so hard?
Oh, okay. It's me. I'm making it hard.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I'm making it hard. I'm making it mean something.
Yeah,
I'm the one that's bringing the fuel of the meaning and the interpretation to this situation. Like they say, everything is neutral. It's
Mhm.
it's never about the thing. It's always it's never about the thing. It's
right.
about
The thing
something.
is not the thing.
The thing. The thing is not the thing. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that we get to talk to each other and we get to slow down. We just need to slow the hell down.
Yes.
We just need to slow the hell down with all this. I mean, that level of our agendas, our schedules, and no time for just rest and doing nothing. Like studies in psychology, neurologists study, and they say it's great for our brain to have times where we're not thinking about anything, just nothing, which is what men are pretty good at, most of the time. Is like thinking about nothing. That's a stretch for a woman to not think about anything.
I'm gonna have to say I agree with that because I don't recall very many times where I can shut my brain off, at least consciously,
Hmm.
and not be. And when I began meditating a few years back, I literally had to work up to 5 minutes just to sit
Hmm.
still and get my brain still for 5 minutes. And that was an eye opener for me to realize how engaged my brain is at all times. Probably even when I'm sleeping, to be honest.
Yeah.
So,
Well, our brains are different. Men's and women's brains are different. They are different. There are more connections between the right and left hemisphere for women, like up to like 40% more than men have.
wow.
So your brains are constantly, traffic, a lot of traffic flowing between both sides of your brain, as that men have fewer of those and so we compartmentalize a lot easier. It's a lot easier for us to compartmentalize and disconnect and detach from what we're feeling or thinking.
Wow. Well, Norman, we are at the top of our hour, and this always passes by so fast for us. It's been amazing, and I'm so excited to hear about your program. Will you tell our listeners how they can contact you?
Sure. You can, best way to contact me is right now is still putting up my social media pages or whatever. But I am on, Facebook. And I'm trying to remember what my Facebook handle is. But anyway, it's no, I
We'll
probably
link
Norman
it.
Robinson. Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
we'll
yeah,
link
we'll
it in the
link it.
description.
And, straight phone call, text 516-232-5191.
Okay,
And yeah, like the social media, web pages, all that stuff is getting created now as we talk. So yeah, that's best way to get in touch with me. But I'll thanks if I can share the links with you. That'll be great. Instagram.
perfect. Perfect. Thank you again so much for joining us. And we're both looking forward to seeing the change and the impact that you create with this.
Yeah, well, thank you, Tammy and Lori, for your guys' leadership. I so appreciate and value the levels of the type of leadership that you're bringing into the world right now. It is powerful and it helps men. It actually helps men to see, some very successful and committed leaders as women who are taking responsibility and not feeling that it's always the man's fault, like but seeing you hold yourself high too and doing the work that you guys are doing, it really helps us men. It helps us to feel very safe and secure with you guys. I appreciate that.
Good deal. All right,
Wonderful.
folks,
Thank you,
we will see you
Norman.
here next week.
All right.
Bye
Thank you,
bye.
Lori. Bye.